Hello and welcome to the Scottish Farm Advisory Service vlog, where James Marshall, the farm manager at Hoddom and Kinmount Estate, will provide an overview about doing a carbon audit and talk us through the implemented and planned management changes.
We've recently had a carbon audit done. It's going to be a requirement of receiving payments in the next couple of years. It was splitting out some of the electricity costs, fuel costs. It's just a bit trickier, and we do code invoices, but it's only recently that I've been doing all the coding. So some things were maybe in the wrong sector, which we had to extract that information to make it more accurate. Obviously, nitrogen fertilisers have a massive contribution to your carbon, but it's a bit difficult to farm without fertiliser totally. We're trying to do reduced fertiliser, but you've still got to put enough on to grow the crop. One thing on the back of the carbon audit we're going to do, we're going to probably get most of the farm soil tested. We're doing at least a third of the farm already, but I think this gives us an opportunity to do the whole farm, or nearly the whole farm, and probably use more targeted soil testing. So we'll do some GPS testing as well, especially in the arable fields, which will maybe give us a chance to even out some of the pHs and potash levels, and possibly phosphates. There might be areas of fields that are low in phosphates that we can even up by doing the more technical testing. Background potash levels in the fields that have traditionally been near the steading aren't so low, but there's a field where I thought, well, we'd soil sampled it, potash levels were reasonable, beans do like potash, don't require nitrogen, phosphate levels here are high. So I made the decision we weren't using any bagged fertiliser on that crop. We had done a deal with a dairy farmer for some straw last autumn, and we got the muck back from that straw, and we used the muck to grow the crop of beans. I think the biggest difference will be that land has traditionally had more muck on. The other land we've grown beans on probably is a bit further away from a steading, so it hasn't had the muck, so it's really only had the bagged fertiliser for a lot of years. And you could probably see that's the land we should be targeting in the future with the farmyard manure in order to build the background levels up. If you increase the organic matter, hopefully you feed in the earthworms and the bacteria in the soil, and you've got more active soil. I think the more active the soil is, hopefully the drainage is better. And it tends to be in a heavier clay type soil as well, so if you can open up the drainage a bit by getting organic matter in, I think it'll be a win-win in the future. The areas of land we've got some freer draining land near the coast. We've got a belt through the middle, it's more clay, and then further to our east we've got more of a clay loam with a bit of stone in it. The lighter land that we had beans on last year, would definitely that lent itself to direct drilling. We've harvested the crops of that, no difference to the conventionally grown crop, but I would say that the structure of the soil is probably better. It's not as soft on top. On the heavier clay land here, I think it would be it's a longer term task to get the soil in a good enough condition in order to direct drill, and I think that comes down to more organic manures, probably using the beans in rotation to open up the soil structure. There might be some other crop we should be growing during the summer to fix that soil structure, but we do grow grass in that land as well. So as part of the rotation, grass will be down for 3 to 5 years, so hopefully that will give a more friable soil in the future. I think if there's areas of compaction in your field which has been tracked around the gateway or headlands or maybe tram lines, it's probably worth going through a subsoiler first. The drill we used has subsoil tines on it, but very shallow, and I think it might just help establishment in those areas if you do loosen it up a bit. Obviously timing, we haven't used glyphosate to knock out any plants prior to drilling, and I think the timing of that's pretty critical. Our red clover lays have got grass in them, but we're looking to reduce bagged nitrogen on that especially. So apart from a little bit of nitrogen to get the grass going in the spring, we're relying on that red clover to be fixing the nitrogen to feed the grass. We are putting the digestate from the AD plant on it, so there's a bit of nitrogen in there, but obviously phosphate and potash, and I think once that clover's established, we probably get away with less digestate as well. And maybe even just straight potash if we're shorter digestate. We've gone down one of these integrated beef schemes where the calves are going to come in at 5-6 months old. They're destined for one of the retailers. They know these cattle are in the system. We make a bit of margin off them. Less capital tied up because we don't actually have to purchase the animals outright at the start. They're going to utilise some of our grains that we're growing on the farm, silages, red clover, feed the whole crop beans. We'll process some of the straw we have into farmyard manure through the cattle, and they will utilise some of the grazing areas that we've improved the grazing of some permanent pasture just with a bit of rotational grazing. So they're not arable fields, so they're more suitable to grass, so they'll utilise those in the summer. One key part of it is actually knowing what these cattle are doing all the time, being able to record weight gains, and any treatments have to be easy. So we've purchased a new squeeze crush. It'll have weigh cells on it, and a weigh head, an electronic tag reader. So it'll make it easier, quicker to run cattle through and weigh them. It really comes down to how much it's costing to feed that animal a day, and it must be putting on more carcass gain. We've got another farm that's coming back in hand fairly soon. It's not had a lot of sheep on that farm, maybe wintering sheep for a few years, so it's relatively cleaner grazing. It tends to be heavier land, maybe not just as suitable for cropping. It's okay for cattle, but not if it's wet, so we are going to move the sheep from what's been the traditional sheep farm onto part of that farm, so we'll have better quality grazing. Probably lower worm burdens will be a big one, and it's given us the opportunity to improve some of the sheep land that's partly croppable, but certainly could grow better silages, which will probably grow to sell, but we'll have the winter grazing for the sheep in between the silage cuts. We put some of the sheep on a cleaner bit of ground this summer, and it's been quite amazing how more of those lambs have gone already, whereas the sheep that have come off the more traditional sheep ground have been a lot slower. So I think I'm sort of predicting next summer we'll have probably, instead of having maybe 10% of the lambs away, well I think we're at 15% of the lambs away pre-weaning, we'll probably double that quite easily.